Hi guys, this is Julie Brown from Right Little Madam, and I'm here in Brighton for a long weekend. Now I'd like to say that the weather was fabulous and sunny and I was getting a tan, but that's not the case. I'm actually getting wet through and I'm cold and it's dull. But anyway, it's still Brighton and Brighton is fabulous no matter what. So what I thought I would do this weekend while I'm here in Brighton is to talk to you about something that's really important if you're going to write anything for your small business. And that's about knowing your audience. If you can't fully understand what your audience wants from your writing, then that makes your writing something relevant for them quite tricky. So I want to talk to you about that today. But before we get cracking with that, I just thought I would show you around Brighton and show you some of the sights. It's one of my most favourite places and I really wish I could live here. I can't yet, but hopefully one day I will, and that'll be fab when I can. So anyway, enjoy having a look around and I'll speak to you in a little while. I was hoping to do this video outside, but we've had to decamp back inside the flat that we're renting because the weather is foul. It's raining and blowing a gale and couldn't hear me speak and it was just horrible. So anyway, I'm in here now in the warmth. It's about 24 degrees in here, which is lovely. So I wanted to talk to you today about writing for your audience. And as a journalist, I know that this is the number one thing you have to think about when you're writing anything really, whether it's marketing materials, a feature, a blog, social media, whatever. If you're not speaking directly to the people you're trying to connect with, then all the best writing in the world is not going to help you. So being in Brighton is actually a good example of this because there are so many people who live in Brighton and from all walks of life. It's a really diverse bohemian place. And if I was trying to write a feature now, for instance, and thinking about having to write that feature for the whole of the people who lived in Brighton, I'd be on a hiding to nothing really, because I can't please the students of Brighton and the gay community of Brighton and the pensioners of Brighton all at the same time. So I'd have to choose one audience, I'd have to say I'm writing this feature for the gay community, for instance. Then I'd know exactly who I was targeting, the language I needed to use, and I could be much more specific in what I said. So I would be connecting with them on a really personal level. And that's the same for the people that you serve. So your audience, you know, whatever your job is, whether you are the owner of somewhere that does alternative healing, or like me, you're a writing coach, or you're a life coach, or you're a football coach, whatever. When you write, you need to write directly for your audience. Now that doesn't mean to say that the people who are outside of your audience won't read your stuff, because they will. You'll always get people at either end of the spectrum who will still pick up your blog and read it. But when you're writing it, you need to be writing it for your core audience and not worry about the people on the fringes. They'll find you regardless, but it's all about the core. So once you understand that you need to do that, then how do you find out about your audience? Well, one of the easiest things to do is to look within, because often the people that we serve are people like us anyway. And again, I've got a good example of this. I used to own a sewing shop in a small town that I lived in. And I'm a sewer. I make dresses and clothes and anything really to do with sewing. So for my audience, there were people like me. So all I needed to do was think, how would I want to be spoken to? What would I be interested in reading? And I got the answer, really. Obviously, it's not always as easy as that. So there are things you can do to help you understand who your audience is. The first thing I would say is to write some stuff down. Buy yourself a lovely notebook, like I've just bought here, this one, from a shop in Brighton. And write down who you think your audience is. But be really specific. So if your audience is mainly female, then give her a name. You know, what is she called? Is she Sharon? Is she Chardonnay? Is she Fiona? Give her a name and an age, and build this picture of her in your notebook of, you know, is she married or not married? What hobbies does she may have? What does she like to watch on television? What does she like to drink and eat? Anything you can think of, really, that would build up this picture of your ideal audience, and that's going to really help. So you know, she's called Sheila, she's 42, she enjoys playing rugby, does she, Sheila? But anyway, she likes to read Jeremy Clarkson. You know, whatever you can think about this person, write it down, and that will be your starting point, your avatar for your ideal client and who you're going to be writing for. It's a really good place to start. The next is to grab yourself some magazines, or even look online at the sorts of things you think your ideal person will be reading. So for me, it could be somebody who is into fashion, for instance. So I might pick up a fashion magazine and read it from cover to cover. You know, what sort of language is that magazine using? What sort of things are they writing about? Because that's all the sorts of things you'll be writing about, or things you need to take into consideration when you're writing for your audience. So looking at magazines that your audience will be reading is a really good thing to do, and go online, look at their websites that they'll be looking at too, and that'll build up the picture for you as well. Then once you've done that, what you need to think about is what's your writing going to look like for these people? Now, your audience may be really conservative and like everything to have proper grammar, and don't like any slang or anything other than, you know, BBC grammar. But your audience might like slang words. They might even like swearing. They might want some humour in there. So whatever you think your audience is going to enjoy reading is how you have to write it. So for me, you know, I'd like to put some humour in my writing. I do try and make the grammar correct, but I'm not fastidious. You know, I won't say I am, I'd say I'm, or I wouldn't say you are, I'd say you're. So I am not completely proper, but I do like it to be okay grammar. But it's all about your audience, whatever's right for them. If you're writing for kids, for instance, or young people, it's a whole different language you may have to use. So just bear that in mind when you're writing. What tone will you use? You know, is it a chatty tone, or is it much more conventional? Just whatever you think your audience will want. So there you go. That was a quick rundown about knowing your audience. I hope that makes sense to you and also shows the importance of knowing your audience. If you want people to read you and find you, then you've got to write for them. Otherwise, they're just going to flick the page and not worry too much about it. If you've got any more questions, then leave comments below or nip over onto my Facebook page, which is Right Little Madam. Just love to hear from you. Thanks for listening. Speak soon. Bye.